happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
We ready? All right, welcome back. Returning champions. Home stretch. Maybe I'm the only one that's excited about that. All right. So I am going to be delighted to welcome to the stage my colleague, Matt Bryan, who is BoardEffect's product owner. But more than that, I want to just maybe share with you a little bit of background about how amazing Matt Bryan is. I just got to embarrass him a little before he comes up to the stage. So Matt has been with our company for 6 years, 5 years? 2012, yeah, so it's been 6 years. And he started with us, he was actually a client of BoardEffect. He used to work at an organization called ArtReach, where he was the person who was administering BoardEffect for that organization. And he kind of connected with us. We had a position open for someone to work on our support team. And so he connected with us, and Matt very quickly became one of the greatest support team members of all time. And he was the person that spoke to everyone. And in fact, when we had our first Be Savvy conference, some of the people from the conference came up to me and said, we want to play a game with Matt. And we were like, what does that mean? And they said, we want him to be blindfolded, and we want to say something and see if he can guess who we are just by listening to our voices, because we talk to him on the phone all the time. And so we tried that game, and it absolutely didn't work, because it was really hard to figure out who was who. But the kinds of things they would say were hilarious. They're like, hi, Matt, I'm really mad at you, and I want to tell you how mad I am. Who am I? So it was really very funny. Matt continued on with us to grow and develop and became our product owner in 2015. And since that time, he has really been focused solely on product strategy and developing the roadmap for BoardEffect and making sure that we are staying on the straight and narrow path. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Matt Bryan to the stage. Come on up, Matt. I had to.
Yeah. Notice we did not do that game this year, so that was a one-time deal. So I want to start with a really important announcement. There may be a fire alarm that goes off during this session. Do not be alarmed. It is a planned test of the system, so if that happens, we'll just need to comply with any instructions that we receive, but hopefully that does not happen. and we'll get through the content because I'm sure you're all really excited to hear about how we're thinking about things and where we'll be going. So grab this here, and we can get started. Okay, so looks like my notes are not there, unfortunately. So just to give you an overview of what we will be doing during this session, we're going to break this out into a couple key parts. First, let me go back here. I'm a little bit getting ahead of myself. Is this? There we go. Sorry about that. So first, I want to start this session by thanking everyone for attending BSavvy 2018. It's been wonderful to connect with you all and learn about how you're using the product. To give you an idea of how we'll be structuring this talk today, I would like to go over some of the releases that we delivered over the past year. Something we've heard consistently from folks is, you know, it's hard to keep up. You're always putting out new things, and I want to make sure that everyone leaves this session with a firm understanding of what we released and how to apply it at your organization. From there, we'll go into a conversation about where we'll be working in the coming year and talking about the themes that we'll be prioritizing. We'll then go into some questions, so you'll be able to ask some questions about the content that we've presented. And then I'll invite Dottie and David to come out and close us out, and everyone should have enough time to get onto their plane or train or car and head home. So we should be ending a little bit before the hour. There we go. Ah, there's my notes. Awesome. This is great. I don't have to do this from memory now, so this is great. All right. So if you may recall, we think about BoardEffect through 3 distinct cycles, meeting, annual, and development cycles. And this is really correspond to how boards work and the cadence in which they're delivering and working with materials. And I mention this just as a reminder because this will help to frame up where we focused over the past year. They help to focus what we build and also help to think about the solutions and problems that we're trying to solve as part of this process. 2018, we focused almost exclusively on the meeting cycle. So as governance professionals, we spend a lot of time here, and we wanted to expand the functionality that we offered as part of this work that we all do. In addition to this focus on the meeting cycle, we also took a look at the platform and identified a number of areas where we can improve the ease of use of the product. And that was another theme that we focused on in 2018. The final result of what we delivered was meeting book workflow, minutes, as well as some administrator user interface updates. Our goal with focusing on these areas was to advance the solutions we provide as part of the meeting cycle, as well as to give people more options to prepare documents before, during, and after the meeting. So I'm going to go into each of those items a little bit further. If you weren't able to attend my sessions yesterday, this will give you a little bit of a baseline understanding of what we have in the platform that hopefully you'll be able to use. So I know this probably never happens. You're working on a board book and you're coordinating a bunch of different versions of the file and someone's sending you something last minute. That never happens, right? You always get the right version when you need it at exactly the right time, right? What's that? Exactly. So we know that's a pain point, and we know how challenging that can be. So it often involves numerous people, iterations, revisions, and last-minute changes. And you're using different tools. You're using email, you're using Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and it's hard to coordinate that process. And I think all of us wished it could be a little bit simpler. This problem is what we're trying to solve with BoardEffect's workflow. When we release this, we allow administrators to define a file to be reviewed, allow people to comment on that file, and then also approve that file within the meeting book. So you're going to one place to look and facilitate this process instead of a number of different tools. You can also specify the order in which people review the document, which is helpful because if, say, for example, the CEO or executive director, if they say, no way, you've got to change it, well, then you can make those changes and then resubmit to have other folks review it in the order that you need. Helps to get everyone literally on the same page because you are putting the file into the book and helping people to look and review and comment on that particular page. Once the workflow is complete, it's a pretty easy process for administrators to finalize that workflow and include the approved document into the book. We hope with this process that it saves everyone some time with emails and the coordination and the correct versions, and we're really excited to provide this solution that's available now. So if you haven't used it, try it out when you get back to the office, and hopefully that adds some value to what you're doing. Now, I also hear when I talk to folks, when I usually mention minutes, I usually hear, oh, minutes. Is that true, right? Like when you're taking minutes? And usually there's a sigh. And then I was like, wow, this is pretty consistent. Everyone I talk to, they're like, oh, minutes, yeah, it's kind of tedious, and it takes a lot of time, and I don't really like doing it. So, yeah, you know, despite being tedious and kind of hard to do, they're arguably one of the most important files and artifacts that boards produce. They have to remain in perpetuity. You have to make sure that they're accurately, you know, stored, and, you know, there's a record of the meeting that, you know, details all the goings on. And what we're trying to do with providing a minutes tool is to make the process easier and reduce the amount of steps that it takes to take minutes and then also create them. We know it can be tedious, and we're looking to reduce clicks, reduce the tools that you're using, and hopefully save you time as part of this process because we know that it's challenging. With our initial launch of Minutes, you can take Minutes from BoardEffect, and it carries over all of your categories and subcategories when you create the minutes. And this is really important because some folks that we've talked to, they're actually typing up their agenda and their categories and subcategories in a Word file, and it's double work. Well, this just saves you from doing that double work. With a click of a button, those categories and subcategories are taken over to our Minutes application, as well as if you're using the attendance functionality, all the attendees that are assigned to that event carry over into Minutes and display. So that takes steps. It saves you time, and it really helps to reduce the amount of work that you need to do as part of the Minutes preparation. Our most recent update to Minutes takes this integration one step further and allows for people to take the complete minutes and add them to the next meeting book. So Minutes don't have to leave our suite of products. You're able to cycle through from start to finish using BoardEffect and Minutes together. So our thinking with this is that it's going to help to streamline the process, in addition to providing new ways of tracking actions with the meeting. So this is another question I'll ask you guys. Everyone always does what they say they're going to do after the meeting, right? Like you don't have to follow up with everyone, right? How many people are tracking actions, right? You're tracking actions, you're keeping them in an Excel sheet or a Word file. Well, our Minutes product allows you to track actions within the product itself. So you can assign actions during the meeting, send communications out, and then ultimately follow up effectively to make sure people do what they say that they were going to do as part of the meeting. And you have a nice running list of actions with each Minutes document. The final theme that we focused on in the past year was a bunch of incremental improvements throughout the platform to improve the UI and also help improve wayfinding. What I mean by wayfinding is making sure that there's text that explains what certain administrative functions do, so people can look at that, understand what it does, and then move forward with those, whatever the task at hand is. We focused specifically in the settings menu where it needed a little love, and you can see on screen here we changed some of the report UI there to make it a little bit clearer and to help frame up what the reports do. And we did this in a number of other places in the platform, again, based off of your feedback and also just trying to make sure that the information's communicated effectively in the platform. This will continue to be a theme as we're always looking to refine the experience and making sure that the product provides the information how to get to it effectively. So I hope you'll be able to take advantage of workflow in Minutes. I hope if you were able to attend my session, we went into a little bit of a deeper dive with that. If you weren't able to, now you're aware of these items that you can then potentially apply at your organization. I think that they're going to add a lot of value, and I'm super excited that we were able to deliver them in the past year. Now, I'd like to talk about where we'll be focusing on in the coming year. So going forward in 2019, we'll be focusing on 3 key themes: access, infrastructure, and experience. So as I mentioned before, these themes, we get these themes from a combination of your feedback, market trends, and best practices. We take a look at that, we synthesize that down, and then we determine the themes that we'll be focusing on in the coming year. The goal with this is that this will help to advance the functionality that we offer in the platform and deliver more value for you and your board. My intent with the next few slides is not to provide an exhaustive list and detailed priority stack ranks of features and functionality, but rather to leave you with an overview of where we'll be focusing and how we'll be thinking about those themes and giving you some ideas about where we'll be delivering functionality. So I'll go into these a little bit more in-depthly. First theme is access. And I want to acknowledge, we've heard your feedback that director access to the system continues to be a pain point. How many people have gotten a call Saturday when you're out with your family and a director can't get into the platform, right? Continues to be a pain point. And what we're trying to do, and I hear it consistently, so we're trying to make that easier. And really the way that we're thinking about making that easier is implementing Touch ID for all logins on the mobile application. So if you're familiar with Touch ID, it's using your defined fingerprint to then log in place of your password. And previously, this was only available with a very specific configuration of BoardEffect. So it was a kind of a complex configuration, and you had a contact support, and we'd set it up. What we're doing with this going forward is we're going to deliver this so it's an option for you to turn on, and then board members can use that in place of their password. The thought with this is that this will help to reduce password fatigue, because I'm sure everyone can relate. We have to remember a lot of passwords, especially with directors sitting on multiple boards and doing a lot of things. It can be hard to remember the BoardEffect password when they're meeting only a few times a year. Touch ID will help to address this, and we also feel that it'll eliminate typos too, because we also see sometimes it's hard to enter your password on touch screens. This will be configurable. So I know some folks in the room, you may be thinking, I don't know if that's going to work with my security policies at my organization. I really want them to enter their password each time. It makes me a little nervous. You can turn this on and off, and that's how we're architecting this solution. And that comes directly from our guiding principle of control. We give you the ability to make the right decisions for your board to turn this on and off as appropriate. In addition to this work, we're also going to be looking to make improvements with the self-service password reset. This was another pain point that we heard from folks, and making sure that you're able to reset passwords. And if a director is trying to do this on their own, we're looking at implementing some solutions. We're possibly using security questions or challenge questions to provide an experience that's a little bit easier to manage versus the current process, which is using email, which sometimes can get lost. Our goal and focus with delivering these, we are looking to implement the Touch ID work by the end of the year. That's the current projections of when we'll be implementing that. And we'll be sure to communicate that through our regular channels. With some of the other web password work that we're looking to do, we'll probably be looking at that in the first half of 2019. And our thinking here is we want to provide an excellent platform and product experience. And that starts with logging in. If folks are having challenges with logging in, we want to address that, make it easy and intuitive, and we feel that if we can do that effectively, then it's going to provide an overall great experience for folks using the product. The next theme for 2019 is refining and investing in BoardEffect's architecture and infrastructure. This focus will further our commitment to reliability, scalability, and security, and maintain the product experience that you've come to expect when using BoardEffect. I think it's really important to call this out, because a lot of this work you may not see, but what this does is it allows for us to deliver on the commitments that we are making as part of our roadmap. So providing a foundation of the best-in-class technologies, working with the diligent architecture teams and production operations teams to set a really solid foundation for us to innovate and deliver functionality that help you and your boards. On the back end, we've actually made a number of changes. In working with Diligent, we've been able to exchange information and really leverage expertise across the products. And we're already using some of their data centers and working with them to really enhance the BoardEffect experience, and we'll continue to do that. And that's going to be a focus for us in the coming year. And it's going to also be a continued focus as we look to broaden our reach across the globe. It's going to be more and more important. Now, the final theme for the year, upcoming year that is a focus on experience. Our focus in this area will be to present information in an intuitive way that provides solutions across the product and delivers an excellent experience without having to retrain the board. So let me take a step back and actually break down what I mean by that. So you see on screen here, this is a prototype dashboard that we are looking to implement. Now, this is not final. We're working through this. And I just want to address any concerns. No, we're not doing a big redesign. No one should leave here thinking that we're doing a big redesign, right? But what we are thinking about is how do we organize information throughout the platform to make the most effective usage of space and communicating with directors. You know, we hear from directors, well, I don't know how to get there. I just want to click on the book. How do I make that happen? So a theme is like, what's the experience we want to deliver to directors, and how do we get that information to them effectively? And this is one of the concepts we're exploring. Along with this concept is we're thinking about tying in other products within the Diligent product family to deliver information for our directors and administrators. So for example, on the screen here, we have some potential integration opportunities, thinking about how we bubble up actions from Minutes and other products that we work with. Another area of focus with the experience comes from our recent uptick that we've seen with people using discussions. So I don't know if you've leveraged discussions in your platform, but we've actually heard from a lot of folks that they're beginning to implement and use this feature within the platform. And because of that uptick in usage, we're looking at how the information's organized within discussions, and we're making some improvements to that feature to ensure that people and boards of all sizes can get the benefit of that. And really how people are using that is to continue the conversations that are happening during the board meeting, in between and up to the next board meeting. So if you haven't taken a look at that feature, take a look at it. And then also know that we're going to be prioritizing some work to improve the experience in using discussions. Another part of this theme is expanding our annotation options. And we'll be revisiting how annotations work within the platform. So we've heard from a lot of folks, I really wish that my directors could share annotations. We've also heard from folks, well, they don't want to share annotations. Well, what we're looking to do is to provide that option in a configurable sense, along with our principle of guiding control, or guiding principle of control, to allow you to enable directors to share annotations if need be, or restrict that type of functionality if that's not going to work for your organization. In addition, we're going to be looking at expanding our options to preserve annotations on files when they have to be deleted or replaced. Right now, we recommend certain workflows with managing that process, and we're looking to make that easier. So when you have to delete a file and people have already annotated, we're looking to preserve those annotations in an effective way. Now, we're in the early stages of planning this and just making sure that we're thinking through what we need to think through. But we hope to deliver these incremental releases over the coming year. Again, with a focus on not having to retrain your board, that we will deliver these incrementally. It shouldn't be big changes, and you'll be able to adapt them into your workflow with little effort. The final theme that I'll talk about, the final component of this theme that I'll talk about, is thinking about other products within the Diligent family and integrating them into BoardEffect. So if you were in my sessions yesterday, you heard me talk a little bit about Messenger, you heard me talk about Minutes. This will be a continued theme, and one of the really great things about joining forces with Diligent is we're able to take advantage of the product family and think about ways to integrate into BoardEffect, so that way we can provide solutions for different needs that you may have. So one of the things that we'll be thinking about is a deeper and more cohesive experience with Messenger within BoardEffect. So if you have that need for secure messaging, we'll have a tighter integration with BoardEffect, as well as tighter integrations between Messenger and Minutes. So integrations will be a theme of the experience that we want to provide folks. And it also ties all together with some of these dashboard concepts that we're exploring. The Diligent family of products, it offers many solutions and services, and it's such an exciting time to be part of this suite of products because we're able to connect, exchange information, exchange best practices, share information, and then also chart a really exciting course forward where we're able to connect and do things that we couldn't do that, just by ourselves. And what that looks like is, since joining the family, we've been able to invest in the product and then share the resources to further our development efforts. And this is going to continue on with the coming year. So we will continue to build and invest in BoardEffect. We will continue to work with other products within the family. And we will continue to work to deliver an experience that solves your problems, provides value for you and your board members, and hopefully makes your lives a little bit easier and your board's lives a little bit easier. So I've just thrown a lot at you. It's also the end of the conference, and it's like almost near lunchtime, right? So I'm just reading the energy of the room here. So we're gonna wrap it up, right? So, but I do want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. So we'll take a few questions. And then from there, we'll also, I'll invite Dottie and David up to close us out. So I think we've got some mics coming around, so we could take questions. I know we've got a question over here. And the other thing, a caveat with questions, like I may not be able to give you like the specific schematics off the top of my head, but I'll do my best to answer your question if you have a question about when we might be working on a particular item. Yes.
On the minutes, is there a collaboration? I know that sometimes in meetings, I'll take notes or someone else will take notes, but sometimes my CEO likes to kind of go back and maybe add something, that's relative to a program. Is that an option there?
So right now, it's not, but I'll give you a, spoiler alert. That's actually one of the next things that we're working on. Perfect. So right now, so the question, so for everyone to hear the question, is there an opportunity to review minutes collaboratively? At present, there's not, but there are some workarounds you could use in the platform. So you could add the draft minutes to a discussion forum and so that might be a way to use right now. Like, so if you were to implement minutes, you could add the draft document, put it into discussions. You could also leverage workflow and put that into a book because most likely you're going to need to approve those minutes at the next meeting. So there's some ways to do it now. We're looking to make that process easier going forward, but there's solutions now that you could potentially implement with the minutes module. Yes?
So with the messenger, similar to how workrooms, if you're only part of that workroom, you can only see what's in that workroom, you can't see other workrooms. Will that have a similar privacy aspect so that if a few of our trustees decide that they would like to communicate with each other, it's something that can be a private conversation between them, or only those who are involved in that conversation will see it?
That's a great question. So we do have a feature within Messenger, and I'll repeat the question just to make sure everyone hears it. Can you define groups within Messenger to limit folks to just a few folks? So if it's executive committee maybe, or audit committee, and you may not want to have other folks take a look at that. You can define groups in Messenger, and only those folks in that group will be able to see that. And that's actually a really nice feature. So with Messenger, it is a secure application to exchange information. So if you're having sensitive conversation that may not be appropriate for email, using Messenger is a great tool to help give people peace of mind so someone doesn't accidentally forward a sensitive conversation. I mean, no one has ever sent an email they shouldn't have sent, right? That never happens, right? So this helps to address that concern, and it can be defined. So, is there any? The lights are like, I can't see anyone. It's like.
Some issues with is people would take screenshots of a chat conversation and then they'd forward it, which is unfortunate. But is there ever, so given this Messenger situation, I know we can't copy, but is there a way to turn off that function when that happens? Because
Yeah, so the question is, can you disable screenshots and how do you go about doing that within Messenger? So right now you can take screenshots in Messenger, and unfortunately it kind of becomes a hard thing to manage because there's nothing stopping me. So here's my cell phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take a photo of the screen, and there's not a technology that disables that. So I think that. At that point, I would refer to good policies and like appropriate usage, and that's where, leveraging policy and also making sure that, if there are actors that could potentially do that, like having the conversations about that's really not best practice. Of course, we're always evaluating how to leverage technology, but the phone photo is kind of hard to solve, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Are we doing any other questions? All right. Well, I think, if I'm reading the room correctly, I think we're ready to wrap up. I won't take it personally on the last session, but we did a lot. And I also want to sincerely thank you for attending. I want to invite Dottie and David up to close us out. But thank you all for the feedback. If you shared feedback, if you shared ideas, it's really appreciated. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dottie and David to close us out.
Thank you, Matt. That was
Thank
awesome.
you, Matt. Thank you.
You're the best.
Yeah. Here's the clicker.
Well, everyone, we just wanted to thank you again for spending the weekend with us. We hope it was a valuable event for you. Did everyone have a good time? Fantastic. Did you learn a lot? That was our goal. So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for being our valued customers. We so appreciate working with you. We so appreciate your use of BoardEffect. And we look forward to serving you into the future.
Absolutely. And just a couple of final closing comments. One is, please know that we will be sending out a follow-up email that includes a link to a feedback survey. So I think a few of you have pulled me aside a couple times during the conference to say, hey, I've got some ideas for next year. I have some thoughts. We want to hear all of those. So please, please, please take the few minutes it requires to fill out that survey when you receive that email from us. We'll also be sending you information about how to access all the slides from all the sessions throughout the conference. I'll make sure to put in a few extra goodies. I know during my 2 sessions I mentioned a few things that I could share with you, so I'll make sure to add those. And then finally, I just want to make one final plea. We were successful at meeting our fundraising goal of $1,000 to boot up PD. So thank all of you. Thank all of you. I will tell you that secretly, those of us who work on the marketing team also hoped we would get a total of 20 Capterra reviews from this conference, and we are only 4 short. So if any of the 4 of you have 10 spare minutes and can pop over to the registration table, we'd be delighted to get your feedback. You can tell us anything you want to tell us. We're not saying you have to give us a good review. We're just saying please give us a review, and we will make sure to add that money back to Boot Up PD as well. So if you have 10 free minutes, we'd love for you to do that. Thank you. And then finally, just thank you again. As David said, you are really the backbone of this event. This event doesn't happen without you, without your energy, without your enthusiasm, without your active participation. So we hope that you'll be interested to do this again with us next year. We hope that you will rave about this to your colleagues and get them to come next year as well. And thank you so much for making the trip down here. We're so appreciative you came. Safe travels, everybody. Have a wonderful time. And thank you again. All right. You're awesome. Thank you.
Great job.